and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Keera, and if you like urban legends or anything paranormal and unexplainable, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I post a new video. So we have finally made it. It is spooky season, which means Spirit Halloween is open, corn mazes, pumpkins, everything you can name. And let's just say that I am thriving, and if you watch this channel, I can guarantee you are thriving as well. And since Halloween is just around the corner, I'm not sure when I'm posting this video if it's going to be the beginning of October or closer to Halloween, but either way, Halloween is approaching fast. But I picked a very spooky and an urban legend that I have never heard before, but it does relate to Halloween. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about the 1962 Idaho Halloween Massacre. Halloween is many people's favorite holiday, including my favorite as well, if you couldn't tell. It is a holiday full of candy, trick-or-treating, dressing up, and for the people old enough or too old to go trick-or-treating, it's mostly just full of partying. The idea of Halloween originally started as a Celtic festival of Samhain. It was a time where people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off the evil spirits that would come out on the night of Halloween, or in this case, the night of Samhain. Eventually, Halloween grew and evolved into what it is today. But I will say candy companies are the main reason why it is a candy-based holiday nowadays. I do have a more in-depth video of the origins of Halloween, some Halloween facts, and some historical stuff that has happened based around Halloween on this channel. If you do want to check it out, I'll put it in the corner right here. So if you want to learn more about that before we continue, feel free to pause this video, go over there, check it out, and then come right back. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about one of the scariest and could be possibly real urban legends and scary thing to have fallen on Halloween. So for today's video, like I stated before, we are going to be talking about the Idaho Halloween Massacre. Idaho is a very beautiful place that covers 2 time zones, runs from Canada to Nevada, and encompasses the western side of the continental divide of the Rocky Mountains. Rivers, mountains, and farmlands dominate the state's landscapes. But within the last few years, there has been tragedies that have shaken everybody from Idaho to around the world. There were 4 people who were murdered a few years ago in Idaho who were university students. The Idaho murders have no connection or relation to this urban legend at all. But I wanted to bring it up just to take a moment to remember Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Because even though it has been a few years since this incident has happened, it is something that will never be forgotten, and neither will they. So after taking a moment just to acknowledge and remember those that we have lost within the last few years here in Idaho, we can now talk about the Idaho Halloween Massacre, which again has no connection to the Idaho 4. In Halloween 1962, people were getting ready and preparing their costumes, and preparing for a night of trick-or-treating activities. And for those too old to do trick-or-treating, they were slowly waiting for the sun to set so that they could party till the sun came back up. In 1962, the small town was about to see the worst event in history, and would hold that title for years. 30 kids who were set in the graduating class would have a tragic end or be traumatized for the rest of their lives, all because of that fateful Halloween night. Marla was one of the students at the high school, and she had decided that she wanted to throw a house party to celebrate Halloween. It also so happened that her father was going to be out of town for that weekend, which means she would have had the house to herself and a fridge full of beer. Word made its way throughout the high school, especially since she decided to make her way around the lockers whispering to everybody about the party. Especially since she made a point to whisper by the lockers to everybody that her old man would be out of town for Halloween and she was throwing a party and the house would be empty. It'd be really nice if you could stop by. She would repeat this phrase to every single person in the hallway who would listen. The list of people planning on attending kept growing, and with that, people believed that this was about to be the best party of the year. So that Halloween night, a bunch of kids from the high school made their masks and headed to Marla's for the evening. And you can only imagine how much trouble and havoc was going on at the party, putting almost the whole high school at that party. And I can guarantee there's a few plus ones that were invited as well. And because of that, it was inevitable for something to go wrong. And you guessed it, something did. So as the sun fully set and trick-or-treaters were slowly wrapping it up for the night, they had stopped knocking and ringing the doorbell at around 9:30. Bottles and cans laid empty on Marla's lawn and around her place. The party had just started and the night was just beginning. Tommy was one of Marla's friends, and he had just gotten a Polaroid camera with a flash and everything on it. He asked for everybody to gather in the center of the room so that they could document this awesome party and the night. Everyone gathered, pushing and huddling together to make sure that they were seen in this photo, showing off their masks and costumes that they had all made. But there was one person that nobody recognized in the picture, in a black coat and mask that resembled an executor in the middle of the crowd. No one realized the importance that that picture would be, showing that one person in the middle of the photo until the next day. This one person would be the missing piece on everything that was about to transpire. That evening just kept getting later, and more people just kept getting intoxicated. And the more they got intoxicated, the less that people could recall what had happened at that party. Some people began to recall strange things that they had seen, like a dowel rod being propped onto the top half of a window on the outside as if it was to stop the window from opening. They thought it was strange, but they brushed it off. Some say Marla and Tommy were in the bedroom down the hall and were first found by their friend Karen. This next part is going to get a little graphic, so if you are uncomfortable with that, I'll put a time mark to skip everything just to hear the end of it. Their throats had been slit, and they were laying in a pool of their own blood. Karen was about to scream and get help when all of a sudden a knife was stabbed through her back. So suddenly she lost her breath because the knife had punctured her right lung. This is only known because of where they found Karen and the other two victims, and what was found in both of their autopsies. But at that point, someone in the front room saw Karen as she dropped to the floor. Screams erupted and the entire party broke out into panic, everybody rushing to the front door only to discover that the door was jammed. People were rushing and slamming themselves into the door, trying to escape, but little did they know that a large porch chair had been budged underneath the door handle and it wouldn't move. People, realizing that the door was not going to open, fled towards the windows, trying to pry them open as well. But the windows had been blocked by the wooden dowel rods on the outside. They were all now trapped. The man with the black hooded mask began to swing the kitchen knife at anything and anyone he could reach. Someone said he was very careful, not only in the way that he held himself, but also how he held the knife, as it was slick and covered in a lot of blood. Almost like he had done something like this almost 1,000 times, and it was a common occurrence for him. Those who had survived that night said that living in a small town, you grow to know everybody around you. No one knew who this person was, and found themselves questioning how someone could be so ruthless. He took 7 people's lives on Halloween 1962, but over 30 graduating students had experienced this traumatic event, but somehow had lived to tell the tale. The killer left through one window that he didn't block, disappearing into the night. Police found Tommy's Polaroid picture the next day, and a couple days later, the mask was found on the side of the road, heading out of town towards the mountainside. But to this day, no one knows who that was, and they were never caught. And the mask has been in FBI custody since it was found in 1969. It is a terrifying urban legend, and it has been talked about for years. Although I will say no murders have ever been reported in the US on Halloween 1962. So I will say that it most likely is just an urban legend, since there is no evidence that it actually occurred, but who knows? It possibly could have. But I will say, if I heard that story as a teenager in high school, but to be fair, I wasn't the kind to party and drink and do anything. I was the one that would like to go home and sit on my couch and play video games with my friends. But if I was that kind of partier, I would be terrified of this urban legend. And I think I would leave the party quite early on and I wouldn't be drinking. But anyways, that concludes our urban legend for today. I thought it was a perfect one because Halloween is coming up and I thought it would put everybody in an even spookier mood. But let me know if you've heard any other variations of this story or urban legend, or if you believe it. If you don't, I would love to hear your thoughts. But anyways, make sure to leave a like and comment what your thoughts are on this urban legend. It lets me know that you're enjoying content like this. And since spooky season is coming up, also let me know what you're being for Halloween or if you have any plans to go to any Halloween parties. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good morning, evening, or night, depending when you're watching this. Bye guys!